You look at your baby sleeping peacefully in the crib, and you think, finally, finally, a moment of quiet. You haven't slept in what feels like geological time. The dishes are piling up. Your phone is buzzing. And yet, right there, in that little swaddled bundle of warmth, everything seems fine. Everything seems okay. But here is what no one told you when you left the hospital with that tiny human in a car seat that felt far too small for the weight of the responsibility it carried. Your baby is not just reacting to the world. Your baby is recording it. Every sound, every tension in your jaw, every sigh you think is silent. Researchers at the University of California, Berkeley, published findings in 2019 that stop the parenting world cold. Infants as young as 6 months old can detect and physiologically respond to stress in their caregivers, even when that stress is never verbally expressed or visibly shown. Let that sink in for a second. Your baby knows. Not in the way you know. Not with words or logic or the ability to send a passive-aggressive email, but in a way that is older, deeper, and frankly more sophisticated than anything language can do. They know it in their bones, in their cortisol levels, in the way their tiny nervous system quietly mirrors yours like a biological echo. And the most painful part? The 5 biggest ways you are stressing your baby right now are not the things you'd expect. They are not the loud arguments or the dropped bottles or the missed nap windows. They are quieter than that, more invisible, more ordinary. And that is exactly what makes them so dangerous to your child's developing brain. Let's start with the one that will make every modern parent uncomfortable: your phone. Not because of screen time in the traditional sense. That debate is old news. But because of something far more specific and far more damaging that researchers have only recently begun to measure with precision. In 2014, a study conducted at Boston University School of Medicine introduced a concept that has since reshaped how developmental psychologists think about infant interaction. They called it the still face paradigm, and its results were, to put it mildly, alarming. When a caregiver, fully present in the same room, are physically close to their infant, simply became emotionally unresponsive and adopted a neutral, blank expression, the infant's behavior collapsed within minutes. The baby would first try to re-engage, smiling, pointing, vocalizing, reaching. Then, when those bids for connection repeatedly failed, something shifted. The infant withdrew. Their shoulders slumped. Their gaze dropped. And here is the part that keeps developmental neuroscientists up at night. Their cortisol spiked. Their stress hormones, the same hormones associated with fight or flight, with threat detection, with danger, flooded a body that had not yet developed the neurological architecture to process or discharge that stress effectively. Now replace still face with phone face. That glazed, slightly downward tilted, a emotionally absent expression you wear when you are scrolling. Your baby cannot tell the difference. To your infant's nervous system, which is scanning your face approximately once every 2 seconds for information about the safety and predictability of the world, your phone face is indistinguishable from abandonment, not metaphorical abandonment, neurological abandonment. The brain processes it identically. And if this happens repeatedly, across hundreds of small moments every day, the cumulative effect is not just a bad mood, it is a recalibration. Your baby's developing stress response system begins to set itself to a higher baseline, permanently bracing for disconnection, permanently scanning for threat. This is not guilt tripping. This is neuroscience. And the fix, as you will see, is not perfection. It never is. cope, but it starts with understanding what your baby is actually measuring when they look at your face. The second way you are stressing your baby without realizing it is one that feels almost unfair to mention, because it is something you genuinely cannot always control. The tone of your voice when you're not talking to them. Not your baby voice. That high-pitched, melodic, instinctive sing-song that parents across every culture on Earth spontaneously produce when addressing an infant, which linguists call motherese, and which turns out to be a brilliantly engineered cognitive scaffold for language development. No, the voice I am talking about is the one you use when you are on the phone with your insurance company, or when you are arguing quietly with your partner about money, or when you are simply tired and snapping at the dog. A landmark study published in the journal Psychological Science in 2013 by researchers at the University of Oregon used fMRI technology to measure infant brain responses to angry adult voices. And they made a discovery that fundamentally changed the field. When sleeping infants, completely unconscious, were exposed to recordings of angry adult voices versus calm adult voices, their brains activated differently. But the most significant finding was this: infants from high-stress home environments showed dramatically heightened activity in regions associated with stress and emotional regulation, specifically the anterior cingulate cortex and the caudate, even during sleep. Their brains were not resting, even unconscious, even in sleep. The babies from more volatile home environments were working, processing, bracing. The brain, in other words, does not take a break just because your baby's eyes are closed. It is monitoring, always. And the acoustic environment you create, the emotional texture of the sounds your home produces, is being absorbed and cataloged by a nervous system that is, at this stage of development, more plastic and more vulnerable than it will ever be again in your child's entire life. The third stressor is one that the wellness industry has, ironically, made worse: sleep training anxiety. Not sleep training itself. The science on various approaches to infant sleep is genuinely complex and contested, and this is not the place to relitigate those debates. What is not contested, however, is what happens to an infant's cortisol levels when a caregiver approaches them in a state of high anxiety, guilt, or ambivalence. Research from the Murdoch Children's Research Institute in Australia, published in 2012, tracked cortisol levels in both infants and mothers across different settling methods. One of their secondary findings, largely overlooked in the media coverage that focused on the sleep training debate itself, was quietly devastating. The cortisol synchrony between mother and infant was measurable and consistent. When the mother approached the infant's room in a physiologically stressed state, elevated heart rate, shallow breathing, muscle tension, the infant's cortisol levels rose in anticipation of her arrival, before she had even entered the room, before she had touched them, before she had spoken. The infant's nervous system had already learned the acoustic and olfactory signature of maternal stress and had begun mounting a stress response in preparation for what that signature historically predicted: an interaction characterized by tension, hesitation, and emotional unavailability. Your baby does not just respond to what you do. They respond to what you are about to do, based on everything you have taught them about what your particular flavor of stress smells, sounds, and feels like. This is not a flaw in their programming. This is a feature. For most of human evolutionary history, a stressed caregiver meant a genuinely dangerous environment: predators, famine, social conflict. And a baby who could detect and prepare for that danger had a survival advantage. The problem is that your nervous system and your baby's nervous system have not yet received the memo that the stress you are carrying is about sleep training philosophy discourse on a parenting forum at 11 p.m., not a predator at the edge of the campfire. To their ancient, exquisitely calibrated biology, stress is stress, danger is danger, and they will respond accordingly every single time, regardless of whether the threat is real. The fourth way involves something so embedded in modern family life that naming it feels almost absurd: background television. Not television you are watching with your baby, not intentional screen time, the television that is simply on. Background noise, ambient company, the low hum of a crime procedural, or a cable news cycle that fills the silence of a house that otherwise feels too quiet. A series of studies conducted at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, led by developmental psychologist Dr. Daniel Anderson, and later extended by Dr. Jenny Radesky at the University of Michigan, examined what researchers call secondhand media exposure. Their findings were layered and, in parts, deeply counterintuitive. The problem was not primarily the content of the background television, though content matters. The primary problem was the interruption of contingent interaction. Contingent interaction, the back and forth, serve and return exchange between caregiver and infant, where the baby makes a sound, the caregiver responds, the baby responds to that response, is the single most important mechanism through which infant brains build neural architecture. It is the process by which synapses are literally formed, by which language circuits are assembled, by which the infant learns that the world is responsive and therefore safe to explore. Background television interrupts this process with a frequency and an unpredictability that the human brain, especially a developing one, finds profoundly disorienting. Every time a television produces a novel sound, an adult voice, a burst of music, or a sudden change in audio texture, it captures caregiver attention. The caregiver's gaze shifts, their responsiveness drops, the contingent loop breaks. And across dozens of these micro-interruptions per hour, across hours per day, across days per week, the cumulative effect on infant language development and stress regulation is, according to Anderson's research, functionally significant, not catastrophic in any single moment, catastrophic in aggregate. This is how most developmental damage works, not in dramatic, memorable incidents, but in the quiet, unremarkable accumulation of ordinary moments that felt, at the time, like nothing at all. The fifth way is perhaps the most human, the most forgivable, and therefore the most important to understand clearly and without shame. Your unresolved emotional state during caregiving. Not depression, though postpartum depression is a serious and vastly undertreated clinical reality that deserves its own dedicated conversation. What we are talking about here is subtler and far more universal. The chronic low-grade emotional static that most caregivers carry into their interactions with their infants without ever consciously choosing to. The worry that lives behind your eyes when you are feeding your baby at 3 a.m. and wondering if you are doing enough, being enough, giving enough. The grief you have not processed, the marriage you are not sure about, the career you set aside, the identity that feels some days like it is dissolving into the relentless biological project of keeping another human alive. Research published in Development and Psychopathology in 2017 by Bridget Callahan and colleagues at Columbia University demonstrated that maternal emotional unavailability, defined not as neglect, not as abuse, but as the kind of subtle, chronic emotional preoccupation that makes a caregiver physically present but psychologically distant, produces measurable changes in infant stress system development. Specifically, it accelerates the maturation of the amygdala, the brain's threat detection center, in ways that create a long-term bias toward vigilance, anxiety, and hyperreactivity to stress. The infant's brain, unable to rely on a consistently attuned external regulator, builds its own. And it builds it fast, and it builds it hot, and it builds it with a hair trigger that can persist for decades. But here is where the science pivots, and where the emotional register of this conversation shifts from cautionary to something that feels genuinely like hope. The same neuroplasticity that makes the infant brain vulnerable to these stressors also makes it extraordinarily responsive to repair. A 2021 meta-analysis published in Child Development reviewed 74 randomized controlled trials of caregiver-focused interventions across 14 countries. The finding was consistent and striking. When caregivers received support, not parenting classes in the traditional didactic sense, but genuine attunement-focused support that helped them regulate their own nervous systems, infant stress markers improved within weeks, not months, weeks, because your baby's nervous system is not just recording your stress, it is waiting with a patience and a biological faith that is almost heartbreaking in its completeness for your nervous system to come home. Every moment of genuine eye contact and every slow exhale, every time you put the phone down and simply let your baby find your face. These are not small things. To a developing brain building its understanding of whether the world is safe, they are everything. The architecture of a human life is assembled in these ordinary, unglamorous, irreplaceable moments. And the most powerful thing any of this research ultimately says is not that you are failing. It is that you matter. More than any app, any sleep schedule, any developmental milestone checklist, in ways that are measurable, specific, and profound beyond any language we yet have to fully describe them.